We are saying that one factor that deeply influences the evaluation of alternative stage, at this alternative stage, is the customer's attitude, and also involvement is another factor that influences the evaluation process. If the customer's attitude is positive and involvement is high, then they will evaluate a number of companies or brands. Alternatively, if it is low, only one company or brand will be evaluated. The following basic concepts will help us understand the consumer evaluation process. We need to understand that first, the consumer is trying to satisfy a need. Secondly, the consumer is looking for certain benefits. They come with expectation from the products or solutions. And thirdly, the consumer sees each product as a bundle of attributes with varying abilities to deliver the benefits. Each product is seen as a bundle of attributes. They come with different attributes, and all these things have varying degrees of importance to the consumer, and we need to appreciate and work on this. Talking about the purchase decision in the decision-making process. At this stage, the consumer has explored multiple options, understood pricing and payment options, and are deciding whether to move forward with the purchase or not. At this point, again, they could still decide to walk away and not to buy after doing the evaluation. So in executing a purchase intention, the consumer may make up to 5 sub-decisions. The decision may border on brand, dealer, quantity, timing, and of course, the method of payment. In making a choice, evaluating attributes in isolation makes decision-making easier for the consumer. It also increases the likelihood that he or she would have made a different choice if he or she had deliberated in greater details. One way, talking about consumer choice, one way consumers make choices is by using heuristics. And there are 3 choice heuristics that we are about to discuss. We can talk of the conjunctive heuristics. Here, what are we saying? We are saying that the consumer sets a minimum acceptable cutoff level for each attribute and selects the first alternative that meets the minimum standard for all attributes. Here there's an acceptable cutoff level for each attribute. The second one we can talk of is lexicographic heuristics. What does it mean? The consumer here selects the best brand on the basis of its perceived most essential attribute. And then the third one, we can talk of elimination by aspects of heuristics. Elimination by aspects of heuristics. Here again, the consumer compares brands on an attribute selected probabilistically, where the likelihood of choosing an attribute is positively linked to its importance. What is selected is linked with its importance. It's linked to its importance, and brands that do not meet minimum acceptable cutoffs are disregarded. So here, elimination is done based on this selected probabilistic attributes. Talking about purchase decisions, it's important that we recognize that there could be intervening factors to consumer purchases. And this, we can talk of attitudinal factors and unanticipated situational factors. The influence of another person's attitude depends on two things: the intensity of the other person's negative attitude towards our preferred alternative, and our motivation to comply with the other person's wishes. In other words, it depends on the importance the consumer attaches to the third party in this case. So we are saying again that the more forceful the other person's negativism and the closer he or she is to the consumer, the more the consumer will adjust his or her purchase intention. Now that depends on the locus or the importance that the third party has in terms of influencing the decision that is finally made, notwithstanding the earlier evaluation made. And all these ones we can think of some marketing implication. Think about it. How useful is this information in terms of devising strategy for marketplace success? The unanticipated situation can come in various forms. And mostly we are saying they are unforeseen because the consumer did not think about it during decision making. For instance, if a consumer intends buying a laptop, a different, more urgent need could arise which could inhibit the consumer from buying a laptop. So behavioral intentions may be different. There could be, sometimes it's not always that there's direct relationship between behavioral intentions and actual purchase. And this has implication for marketing strategy. What does it mean? After going through evaluation and all that, and forming an intention to buy, it may not necessarily lead to purchase. And these have time and other implications for marketing. And we need to think of strategies to help make use of this information. So like I put here under this slide, I'm saying that preferences and even purchase intentions are not completely reliable predictors of purchase behavior. That's why when you administer behavioral intention, attitude scale, or scale, and maybe majority of your target indicate that they will purchase and all that. It's only an intention to purchase. And a smart or a prudent marketer need to understand these nuances in terms of strategy development. Sometimes there's a way to seek commitment and so on and so forth. Very important considerations. Again, relating to unanticipated situational factors, a consumer's decision to adjust, because the consumer will either adjust, postpone, or avoid a purchase decision. And we are saying that this is also influenced by one or more types of perceived risks. What is perceived risk? Perceived risk simply has to do with the consequences that consumers may face due to unforeseen circumstances in relation to a purchase decision. It may come in various forms. Consumers may perceive functional risks. This normally has to do with the performance of the product or brand in question. They may perceive physical risks. This may relate to the possibility of the product or brand or service causing bodily harm to the consumer and or people within the sociocultural environment. The consumer may also perceive financial risks, and these financial risks may relate or mostly relate to the fear that the consumer may not have value for money in engaging in this exchange relationship. There's also the social risks that has to do with the opinion of others, because we live, no man is an island, we live in communities and all that, the consumer may also be concerned with the opinion of others in terms of the goods and services they want to acquire. And of course, there's also the psychological risks. Consumers have images and egos and all that. So in buying certain goods and services, it may be, they may suffer from trauma just by thinking of making the wrong purchase decision and all that. So that has to do with psychological risk. And of course, we can talk of time risks. Time risks may relate to the time that the consumer may take in trying to learn about the product or the usage, or even when it comes to disposal. You know, some brands of cars, for instance, I mean, when it comes to resale value, or when it comes to, selling off, may become problematic. All these things will fall under time risks. So these are some of the risks that may influence the decision-making process, and therefore may be responsible for the variance or the difference between behavioral intention and actual decision or actual purchase. There are several ways by which consumers handle risks. Of course, we say, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. Some may seek information from various sources. They may rely on warranties, or where they are not sure, they may buy from reputable retailers or buy well-established brands. And again, this knowledge has implication for marketers in several ways. It can have implication in terms of new product introduction, competition, and so on and so forth. And like I explained earlier on, the last stage in the decision-making process has to do with the post-purchase behavior, which I said may have to do with dissonance that the consumer may face. Because one or three things may happen. The consumer may be satisfied, dissatisfied, and so on. So again, post-purchase behavior may come by way of post-purchase satisfaction, post-purchase actions, and then post-purchase uses and disposal. Consumer may either be satisfied, dissatisfied, or delighted, and so on. Depending on the scenario, marketers need to devise strategies to ensure that consumers continue to be satisfied even beyond purchase, because of the earlier implications we said. These days of competition, marketers can not afford to end the process just at the purchase stage. They should also be interested in what happens post-purchase by way of guarantees, providing services, and so on and so forth, or giving the customer an account person to continuously advise on the brand that has been purchased. Yeah, post-purchase decisions we can also talk of post-purchase uses and disposal. I was saying that a key driver of sales frequency is product consumption rate. So the more quickly buyers use a product, the sooner they may need to replace it. However, consumers may fail to replace some products soon enough because they overestimated the product life. One strategy to spread replacement is to tie the act of replacing the product to a certain holiday event or time, so that anytime that period gets to that period, consumers are reminded the need to replace. Another strategy is to provide consumers with better information about either the time they first use the product or need to replace it, or its current level of performance. Talking about post-purchase uses and disposal, marketers also need to know how consumers dispose of the product, especially for products like batteries, beverage containers, electronic equipment, and disposable diapers, which can damage the environment. There also may be product opportunities in disposed products through recycling. I mean, in Ghana, we know that the sachet water are used in producing bags, umbrella, purses, etc., etc. These are some of the marketing implications we can talk about. Marketers need to identify the circumstances that trigger a particular need by gathering information from a number of consumers. They can then develop marketing strategies that spark consumer interest. Marketers must understand the factors that provoke a feeling of risk in consumers and provide information and support to reduce it. Marketers must monitor post-purchase satisfaction, post-purchase actions, and post-purchase product uses and disposal. This is because post-purchase activities determine whether the consumer will buy again and whether he or she will spread positive word of mouth, which is very, very important. Yeah, we've come to the end of the second session. These are your references for further reading. Thank you.